seems to me a no-brainer, which is forest, humus, household and garden waste compost, some aeration, definitely cover crops like we do bean, ryegrass, like it's called a plow down mix that we plant in the November after the harvest, first rains, plant it, mulch it. Okay, these bales of straw, this is actually rice straw that I purchased. Luckily you can get it organic, but you know, this is from the Central Valley of California, so not super local. So we're aware of all these inputs and how far and how much energy and whatever, and we're doing our best, but we still do import some stuff. The rice straw makes great mulch on the beds, and it also layers really well in the compost. But basically, the cover crop in the fall, you can either turn that in, or you can just chop it or crimp it down and mulch over it enough so that that naturally breaks down with the last rains of spring. Then you can inoculate or feed with compost tea supplemented with our local compost. Our native compost, I think, is the best. Sometimes we'll get some worm castings. We'll add a little bit of guanos, bat guano, seabird guano. But in the old days when we had extra cash in our pocket because the prices were high, and we'd go buy sacks of bat guano and seabird guano because we could, not so much anymore. For one, heavy carbon footprint, it's coming from Peru, it's coming from Mexico, it's coming from far, and it's expensive. So
Did you notice what was the difference if you noticed in the
I mean, some of those guanos the plants really respond quickly to. Like if your plants want a little nitrogen because they're getting a little pale, you dose them with a bat guano tea and boom, they're green like less
9 points nitrogen.
Less than a week later, and they're just
up, yeah.
But now we're much more conscious of not just our sustainability, our carbon footprint, but also, you know, the bottom line, the pocketbook, and we're using a lot more local.
The other thing about that guano is, bat guano especially, you disturb the habitat and nesting of the bats when they dig it out of the cave. And then you just think about, that's your job, shoveling bat shit? Not a good job.
Oh, it's terrible.
So it's terrible for the bats and terrible for the workers.
Absolutely.
And basically the same with seabird guano, you're disturbing their habitat. And the seabird guano, like you say, I've been in Peru, I've seen where they harvest it on the islands, and these are islands off the shore without a single tree on them.
Right.
And it's the whole bird thing. So you're there, once again, you're shoveling bird shit in the middle of a tropical island, and all you can do is sweat.
Yeah.
So, no, people have really gotten away from that.
Yeah.
We loved it when we didn't know how bad it was to use it. And so, and perlite and vermiculite, those are also kind of objectionable in a way.
Yep.
But I want to tell you about biochar. We've been doing biochar. Harry, our guy, he's got this 55-gallon drum.
Yep.
And then you cut some holes in it in the bottom and open up the top, and then you put a 33-gallon drum on top of that, which becomes the chimney. So you can have 4 or 5 of those drums, and you start it in the winter when there's no fire danger, and you can make a lot of biochar pretty easy.
Yeah.
Right. If you get the biggest wood chips, and you go down to one of these places that's selling the big wood chips, you get a load of those and do that, or use your own wood chips and branches and so on. We've had a tree limber out, and so we got a lot of tree limbs now. We're going to buck those down smaller and make those, because even those logs, if they don't fully get chopped up and they got char in them, they're working and so on. So yeah.
No, I agree. I love that. And one of our goals is
not so hard to do that. And you can go online to figure out the exact stuff and so on.
Totally.
So,
and it's fun to burn stuff in the winter.
Oh yeah.
It's cold and rainy. It's like having a nice fire
so
going.
I want to say, we're doing many of the things that you're doing, and one thing that when you get into regenerative and living soil and so on, you realize this is a process.
Yeah.
And I'm learning more about it, and every year I'm going to try and get a little better. Every year I'm going to try and incorporate more stuff from my immediate environment. But anybody who says they're there yet is kind of not realizing how far it is.
Yeah. Never get there.
Yeah.
You have to always keep trying it. I will say, I feel like we cultivate our soil just as much as we cultivate our plants.
Yes, that's the key thing. We
Yep.
grow the soil, which
Yep.
we can actually do. The soil grows the plant, right?
Yep.
But remember,